Cyberpunk is collaborating with Fortnite, bringing Johnny Silverhand and V as playable characters to the world's most popular battle royale. However, they decided to bring over female V instead of male V, reigniting the age-old debate about which of the two options is superior. Personally, I quite like both male and female V, and I was always a bit confused about why people felt so strongly about one or the other. Can't both be good? For the most part, there aren't many gameplay differences between the two outside of the romances. Johnny's interactions with both tend to be pretty similar, and most NPCs treat V exactly the same regardless of gender. I guess the major difference comes in the voice acting performance. So in this video, I wanted to give my take on this whole male V versus female V thing, and by the end of it, maybe more of you will share my opinion. From the discourse online, it would seem like male V is less popular than female V. However, at some point CDPR revealed that Pan Am was the most romanced character in the game. That would mean that most players would have had to have played as a male. This stat is several years old though, so things could have changed by now. The reason female V is included in the Fortnite collab is likely because they could only do 2 skins. Johnny is an obvious pick, so having a male and a female character makes sense. And also, CDPR has been using her in promo material ever since Phantom Liberty. Really even earlier if you want to count things like patch 1.6. Before that, promo material mainly featured male V, so I see it more as an equal distribution thing rather than a representation of the popular choice. I did read that one of the CDPR devs made the call for female V because he likes her better, but I think there's a bit more to it than that. Let's start with the voice acting, likely the most contentious topic when it comes to the two Vs. Male V is played by Gavin Drea, an Irish actor. He's done work in TV, film, and theater, but prior to this role he didn't have a ton of experience in voice acting, so that's something to take into consideration. If you listen to any interviews with him, you'll hear how far of a departure his normal speaking voice is from his V voice.
When I would go in the mornings, I go like, one of my kind of go-to lines would anything antagonistic towards Johnny, so I'd be like, Jesus fucking Christ, Johnny, get the fuck out of my head. It was something like that.
That is fucking awesome. Female V is voiced by Jeremy Lee. She's a very experienced voiceover actress, and I think you can feel that in her performance. What I especially liked about Gavin's V is that he actually sounds intimidating. Whether it's talking to corpos or random gangers, male V actually sounds like someone who means serious business.
You talking shit about my mama? I'll fuck you up!
Pack up your shit and get out of here before I break your hands.
You gotta be joking! Over a piece of fucking metal?
I'll count to 3. 1, 2...
Dog's crazy, yo!
Thank you, V!
In some ways, it gives the game an entirely different edge. But sometimes this can be an issue. The stoic dryness of male V works in the moments where he's supposed to be a badass, but in other scenarios, it can sound a bit strange. There are times where male V can sound rude during what's supposed to be a friendly conversation, or a little too flat during tender and sensitive moments.
If I'd just known, I'd have...
Don't blame yourself. Won't solve anything. Why don't we just take 1?
Because we need 2.
Shit. You're about as useful as a data term helpline.
You race in pairs, driver and gunner.
So, you a turret guru or a driver's ed dropout?
But despite a few misses, there are also times where I feel like Gavin absolutely nails it, and the emotional range gets quite good towards the later stages of the game.
V, are you secure?
Yeah, for now. Lost your fucking mind?
There's no time to explain.
I find that female V's traits are actually the opposite of male V's. Where male V sounds convincingly scary and intimidating, I don't really get that same feeling from female V. Sometimes it's okay, but for the most part, I find that it feels more natural with male V.
Let go! If I do, you'll calm down?
On the other hand, female V sounds far more natural and friendly in normal conversations.
Didn't figure you as the type for Asian. Would've thought you'd find it too exotic.
What do you mean? What's there not to like?
Sometimes she even sounds a bit too cute for being one of Night City's most dangerous mercenaries.
Hey. Hello?
While male V elevates the gritty vibe of Night City, I find that female V has an air of optimism about her. Even though the dialogue is the same, there's a different vibe, two different takes on V. Night City feels bleaker when I play as male V, but female V's got some whimsy that makes things seem more hopeful.
So, feeling better?
No.
So, feeling better?
No.
I thought Jeremy really showed her experience with the emotional scenes, which I found consistently well performed.
See you in the major leagues, Jack.
For fuck's sake, defend yourself! You're not even trying!
You know, you taught me to let go sometimes.
And I vastly prefer the way Jeremy delivered the sarcastic lines.
Johnny Silverhand asking me to get up from a bar? Something new every day.
She had more of a jokey tone, whereas male V sometimes sounded more disrespectful and matter-of-fact.
Tell it to your therapist. Calling about your ride and the merch you lost. Interested? Or are you gonna tell me to eat your shorts too?
Tell it to your therapist. Calling about your ride and the merch you lost. Interested? Or are you gonna tell me to eat your shorts too?
Weirdest thing you've ever transported. Go.
What? Are we playing 20 questions?
Come on, answer.
The Deputy Finance Director of Caucase.
That's chauffeuring, not smuggling.
The Deputy Finance Director of Caucase.
That's chauffeuring, not smuggling.
I laugh at both, but I laugh because female V is funny and because male V is kind of a dick.
I don't fucking believe this. You're bullshitting me.
Right, because I like to bullshit badges in my spare time.
You Huangbo?
그래, 근데 다들 날 치타라고 불러. 내가 또 치타처럼 존나 빠르거든.
Nobody calls you that.
Some people may not like the accent or style employed by Gavin, but I think it's awesome, and if I could talk like that, I'd be busting it out all the time. While he pulls off the accent pretty well, I think it unfortunately causes him to trip up on some words.
You serious?
Dump the safety mechanisms and switch down the emergency power.
I also find Male V's voice a bit out of character for a 23-year-old. This is more of a lore problem than an issue with Gavin's acting. Originally, V was 27 years old, but in patch 2.0 they changed that to make V 23 years old. You can see this in the character creator, and apparently this is what V's age was supposed to be all along.
It was an issue to start with, you know, I think it was just a miscommunication between like couple departments like narrative and UI and so on, and we wanted to address this.
While that isn't a huge change, Male V's voice at 27 years old is a bit more believable than for someone who is just 23. I know you could say Night City ages you and all that shit, but I think there's simply a tonal quality that comes with age, and Male V sounds seasoned, to say the least.
You're more like me than you think. You'll see.
But it goes both ways. Maybe you're becoming more like me.
Nah, no way.
By contrast, I think Jeremy's voice actually fits well with a 23-year-old V. Some of you may disagree, but I think female V actually benefited from the age change, unlike male V. She sounds youthful, but not like a complete teenager.
No problem. Just a death sentence. NC's Arasaka's turf. Nobody fucks with them here.
I also prefer the way male V sounds when Johnny takes over and the voices are laid on top of each other. I found that Keanu's slower speech worked better with male V's voice as opposed to female V's.
Tequila old-fashioned, top it up with beer, and sprinkle in some chili.
Silverhand special. Been a while since anyone ordered that.
That's about all I have to say for the voice performance, but before we move on, I want to say I think both Gavin and Jeremy really knocked it out of the park with Phantom Liberty. Really, everybody in Phantom Liberty was acting their butts off, but for Gavin and Jeremy, this was truly the pinnacle of their performance as V.
Holy shit! Shit! Fuck me!
Okay. Save the president. Sure. No fucking problem.
Romances are one of the only gameplay differences between the two Vs, and with only 4 options, it's not much to write home about anyway. In some RPGs like Baldur's Gate 3, you can romance all companions regardless of your player's gender. But in this game, the companions have their preferences and aren't afraid to let you know about them.
No thanks, V. I'm alright.
I think male V wins out by having Panam and Carrie as options as opposed to Judy and River. I don't want to argue too hard here since this is also preference, but to be frank, I just think River kinda sucks. The final River mission comes way too soon in the relationship compared to the other companions. It just feels like it escalates too quickly, and most of the time spent with River is investigating heinous crimes like the death of Lucius Rhine and that nasty shit with Anthony Harris. I thought those were some pretty traumatic and fucked up experiences, but I guess he considered it precious bonding time. There's no way to turn River down until you're at the top of the tower. Even his sister and her kids try to guilt you into romancing him if you're a female.
Who thinks V and Uncle River make a good couple?
Like, come on, man. I don't mean to sound like a massive River hater, I just think his arc was underdeveloped. Honestly, I felt like V had more romantic chemistry with Blue Moon than with River, and we barely spent any time with her either.
I knew you'd come through. You're amazing.
If River was swapped with another male option like Solomon Reed or even Takamura, then maybe it'd be a closer match, but with the options available, I think male V wins on the romance. When it comes to customization, I think female V wins out here. While both Vs share most of the clothing in the game, I find that even unmodded, female Vs got the better wardrobe and also better character creation options. This tends to be the case in most RPG games anyways. When I played as male V, I didn't adjust my clothing as much, especially when I found out I could just cosplay as one of the Jabberwockies. So to sum up, I think male V's pros are that he sounds actually threatening and intimidating and that his voice meshes better during the Johnny takeovers. His voice also gives the game a gloomier vibe if that's something you prefer. I also think the romance options of Panam and Carrie are better than Judy and River. The cons are that he sounds a bit old for a 23-year-old, and sometimes the stoicness of the delivery sounds a bit out of place. With female V, the pros are that the delivery is a bit more natural and definitely funnier. Her voice gives the game a bit more of an optimistic vibe. I preferred her emotional delivery a bit more too, and the voice is fitting of a 23-year-old. I also think female V has better customization. The cons are that I don't find her voice that intimidating and the Johnny meshing doesn't sound as good as with male V. So there we go. Neither are perfect, but both have their strengths, and whichever you gravitate towards will likely depend on what aspects you value more. Again, I don't think there's much of a difference in terms of gameplay. When I first played this game, I did my initial run as male V. I had seen a few clips on YouTube and thought that female V didn't sound quite right. But after playing through the game as female V, I've grown to really like and even prefer Cherami's performance. I think both VAs did a good job, and at the very least, both are far from a bad performance.
Guess it left a lasting impression. Good.
I don't know if we'll ever hear from V again, but even if we don't, I think Gavin and Cherami can be very proud of the work they did in Cyberpunk 2077. Now I know all of you must have your own thoughts and opinions, so feel free to share them in the comments below. That does it for this video. Thanks for watching.